Welcome to Front Office Pros. Today we're going to be talking about starts and sits for week 4. Before we get started, we are going to review how we did last week. Joe, we had a kind of a mixed bag for how we did. So let's show the world here what we've got going on. So we said smash play being Lamar Jackson had his best week yet. That was a hit. I thought he could do very well. Matthew Stafford as a sleeper, he was just okay. Wasn't great, but did all right. And then the stinker call, Justin Fields, he is just not doing well, Joe.
No, yeah, he certainly isn't. I do think, as you'll find out later in the show here, I do think he possibly has a get right opportunity this week, though.
Absolutely. At the running back position, Jahmyr Gibbs not smashing. Severely disappointed about that. I thought Dan Campbell would start utilizing his first-round rookie that they were going bananas for in the draft room when they drafted him. It's kind of a head scratcher. It's almost as if he's now got the DeAndre Swift bug, where they're just not using him. He's not that he's not even healthy. He is healthy. Right, Swift, he wasn't healthy. That's why that was happening. Now with this, it's like, why aren't they playing Gibbs more? This makes no sense.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I think plenty of other fantasy owners are with us here. They're taking an extreme slow approach, and for whatever reason, they like Craig Reynolds as well.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Tony Jones is a sleeper. He did all right, Joe. Wasn't bad as a sleeper play. And Ramondre Stevenson as a stinker did not do well last week. Going over to the go ahead, Joe.
Ramondre, that was a good call.
Going over to wide receivers, Joe, your smash for the week, Zay Flowers, that just didn't work out.
Yeah, unfortunately not, man. Honestly, I think that hurricane weather had a lot to do with it. We'll see. I think he'll have better games in the future here, but that was certainly disappointing.
And then George Pickens, did okay, not great, but he did. I want to say he got you around 10 points PPR. It's not too bad. And then Hopkins is a stinker. You called that one, Joe. Just he's been dealing with an ankle issue. Titans offense just did not look good.
Yeah, I just that Browns defense, is for real. And at this point, you might want to consider avoiding that defense until proven otherwise here.
Yeah, Kyle Pitts, although he did okay, he did not smash. So if you had him, I think you're okay with it. Just didn't have that breakout like we were hoping. Dalton Schultz did not end up being a sleeper. Stroud was targeting other people that day. And Dallas Goedert did okay, but he didn't stink it up.
Yeah, tight ends, man, they're just tough. I mean, honestly, the 5 for 40 from Kyle Pitts, yeah, it's not what you expect out of Kyle Pitts, but it's still middle of the road for tight ends. Was disappointed, with Dalton Schultz. I mean, the idea was there, just like you said. Tank Dell was just an animal getting on those deep routes, and other guys were open.
Yeah, and then your stack of the week got Lamar right, didn't get Zay Flowers right. And then on my side, Deshaun Watson ended up showing up with Amari Cooper. So if you had that stack, that worked out pretty good for you.
Yeah, and the refs screwed you on another Amari Cooper touchdown, that play where he said he stepped out of bounds and they blew the whistle. It's like, what are these refs doing, man?
That's just ridiculous, Joe. Absolutely ridiculous. So before we get into the starts and sits, if you are watching, go ahead and let us know your starts and sits questions. That's what we're here for. Thursday night football preview. We got the Lions versus the Packers in Lambeau tonight, Joe. So starting off with the quarterbacks, are you starting Jordan Love or are you starting Jared Goff? Both defenses have been, I feel like so far at the start of the season.
Yeah, honestly, I feel more confident in Jordan Love probably against this Lions defense than I do with Jared Goff. Goff traditionally plays better at home. He's had his games. He's been pretty good, but going on the road in Lambeau, tonight is tough. I don't know. I have a little bit of lower expectations for Goff tonight.
Yeah, I don't think I'd start Goff. Packers defense has been a little bit stingy. David Montgomery looks like he will miss the game tonight. There was kind of like, is he going to play? Is he not going to play? I believe now he's not playing. Am I right about that? Or is he playing now?
I can double check. I think you were right in saying he's inactive.
Okay,
But
because I think Tom Pelissero was saying he is playing and he's not playing and he is playing. I was getting confused. I think he helps that offense just from a stability standpoint, is what he brings. I think it really helps the team.
yeah, Montgomery is going to be inactive tonight, Steve.
He's going to be inactive. Okay, yeah. So I'm with you. I don't like the matchup for Goff. Packers is going to be a little bit stingy. It's in Lambeau. I would avoid Goff. Love, I think he could be a sleeper for you. I think you and I talked about this before. I think the touchdown regression is coming. I think he's right now a QB1 in most leagues. Don't see that staying the rest of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm excited to see this Packers offense tonight. Aaron Jones is back. Christian Watson's in for the first time. It'd be interesting to see what, Jordan Love finally having his full complement of guys and what this Packers offense can look like.
Going over to the running back. So you just said Aaron Jones is coming back tonight. You've got A.J. Dillon, who's done basically nothing. And then you've got Jahmyr Gibbs of Montgomery out. So for those guys, are you starting any of them?
Yeah, you got to play Aaron Jones. I understand, they might ease him in. He might be on a, snap count along with Christian Watson, but I think you got to play him. And then Gibbs, I don't know. I mean, you could play him. If you do have somebody better, you could look elsewhere, but there's also a chance that you could miss him on a breakout game. And I feel like that could be the fear, even though he's been kind of disappointing with his utilization. He is that, breakout kind of guy. And if he has a breakout game, you're going to be disappointed if you miss it.
Yeah, I think for me, I actually think that I would be the opposite of you. I would not start Aaron Jones tonight. They're going to want him to be there for the stretch run. They're not going to push him. I think he's going to have limited snap opportunities. So as a result, I think I'd fade him initially. But I think you have to start Gibbs. Look, if you drafted Gibbs and you thought that he had this immense potential, he didn't do it last week. Thought he would. Packers defense, I think, is good, not great. But it doesn't matter. Gibbs really should be the guy tonight. And if you have him, you got to start him. If not, I question why you drafted him, right? I mean, if I had him, I don't have him in any of my leagues because so many people had him. It's like, this is the scenario where he would pop off. So if you're not going to play him now, then, you might as well start looking to trade him.
Yeah, that is a valid point.
Going over to the wide receivers. Lions, you got Amon-Ra St. Brown. Then you've got some other guys like Khalif Raymond, Josh Reynolds. On the Packers side, you got Watson coming back from injury. You got Dobbs. You got Jayden Reed. Anybody who's starting for either team?
Well, I think, you got to play Christian Watson. Got to play Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think I think you could still start Dobbs. He seems to be that red zone guy and getting those touchdowns right now. But as far as the Lions go, I don't know if I could start either like Raymond or Reynolds with confidence outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown. I feel like you just aren't going to know from week to week which one it is going to be.
Yeah, you got to start Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's a given. I wouldn't start the other Lions guys. The Packers, I don't know. Watson, I'm kind of iffy about. Like I said, he could be on. He could be on a snap count too.
He definitely could.
I feel more confident about Dobbs, and I think Reed is a sneaky play, but I probably would fade him as well. Because I think he typically plays in the slot, and Brian Branch, he's a nickel type of guy, so they move him all over the field. So that's kind of my thoughts there.
Yeah, I just think even though Watson could be on a snap count, if he all it needs, he could get one big play and hit for you in fantasy though.
That's true. How about the tight ends? You got Luke Musgrave for the Packers, and then you've got Sam Laporta for the Lions, both rookies, Joe. Laporta's looked good. I think you have to start him.
I'd fire them both up. Musgrave has looked good. Honestly, Love missed him on a deep pass, in prior games here. He seems to target him, and I think having Christian Watson back, taking away some of that outside coverage definitely could help, the middle of the field. So I would start both of them.
Yeah, I actually think Musgrave could be a smash play. We talked about last week how the Detroit Lions defense is lackluster at the tight end position. We thought Pitts would be the one to break it out. I could see the Musgrave doing really well tonight. I would start him over a few others this week.
Yeah, definitely. It's crazy, man. You know how I feel about the rookie tight ends, but Laporta and Musgrave, man, they've been utilized and look pretty good thus far.
Are you starting either defense or kicker tonight?
I think I would probably, if I had to play defense, I'd be playing the Packers defense. Yeah, I think there's better defenses out there than the Lions, and then I'd probably out of the kicker group, maybe the Packers kicker. Lambeau's a tough place to kick, so I'm not so sure about
The rookie with Carlson, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't want to start any of them. I
Yeah.
don't really think the defenses have been great. Kickers haven't been great. I don't believe for either side. I wouldn't start any of them.
I mean, I do. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not the best. I don't know how high scoring this game is going to be. I think you got, just going to be a tough battle here, grind it out type of game.
All right, Joe. So going to the rest of the slate here. Let's start off with the studs. Or not the studs. I'm sorry. Yeah, wrong video.
Wrong show.
Let's start with the smash play of the week for quarterbacks. Oh wait, and I got the smash play.
Yeah,
what am I doing?
That would be you.
All right. So starting off with the quarterbacks, the smash play of the week, in my opinion, is quarterback Justin Fields. Now, look, I know he's been really, really bad so far to start the year. I wasn't as excited as you remember, Joe, as others, but I felt like I got caught up with all the enthusiasm surrounding him. But he's currently the quarterback 23 behind the likes of Joshua Dobbs, Jimmy G, and Kenny Pickett. Like, that's atrocious. But, as you know, Joe, the Denver Broncos just got absolutely steamrolled by the Dolphins. And while the Bears do not have the same firepower as the Dolphins, Denver also let up 35 points to the Commanders as well. Fields is a dual threat quarterback, and by his legs alone, we saw that a few times last year. I think he should smash. So if you have him and you drafted him, you believed in him, honestly, you need to start him. I mean, look, you drafted this guy. You thought he was going to be lights out this year. You need to start Justin Fields. And if he doesn't smash, then I'd be a little bit worried. then we have a whole different conversation around Justin Fields. Do you drop him? You're benching him for good. It could be problematic.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm starting him this week over Jared Goff. I've been starting, been starting Goff over him. But I'm going to roll out Justin Fields. And like you said, man, if he doesn't smash against this Broncos defense, I'm going to be very concerned for him going forward. And I just don't trust Vance Joseph to correct these things on defense. I just think it's, currently the organization and that side of the ball is completely in shambles, and not sure if they're going to have answers for this offense.
I want to recognize a subscriber of ours, Hans. Hey, guys, I enjoy your content. Thanks so much, Hans, for the shout-out. Thank you for coming on today. And if you have questions related to your starts and sit, fire them up. We're here for you. But, when it comes to Fields, Joe, I just, there's a lot of excitement around him. It's a bad sign when I think I've heard rumblings. They're like, it's possibly that they may bench Fields. Like, I don't know if you've seen that as well. Like, that's extremely concerning.
Yeah, I have not seen that, but it wouldn't surprise me because the man, and I know he wanted to blame it on the coaching staff, but then regretted it. But really, to me, the coaching staff's letting him down. I just feel like they're trying to make him that pocket passer. They did against the Chiefs, let him, they actually increased his amount of designed runs, which is good. And I think that'll need to continue for him to excel here. But let's test your smash play here at quarterback, Steve, and get a few other guys you're going to possibly start over Justin Fields or not. Would you start Trevor Lawrence over Justin Fields?
Yes, I would. I just think that the matchup is a lot better. So for me, I definitely would go, even though Lawrence has been a disappointment too. You and I have talked about him. I really thought he was going to do well this week. I'm really shocked by it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I've been surprised by it. I mean, really, other than week 1 against the Colts, he's been very disappointing, and I've been surprised about that as well. But would you be starting Lamar Jackson or Justin Fields?
Got to go Fields. I think that, like I said, Fields is just, if you drafted Fields, then you got, like, what's the point of you drafting him otherwise? I think you got to start him. What do you think?
Yeah. Plus, I don't really like Baltimore and Lamar Jackson's matchup this week, so I think I would fire up Fields over him as well. Um, just that ceiling play that Justin Fields could give you, could be really good this week.
Well, we talked the Browns defense, the stingy defense, and I don't.
Right.
It's a divisional matchup. It could be ugly.
I agree, and that's yeah. I mean, this Browns defense, man, it's been tough. I mean, containing Lamar Jackson, another story, but if anyone can do it, I mean, it should be this defense. But how about very top rated quarterback here? How about Kirk Cousins or Justin Fields?
He's going up against Carolina. It's a decent matchup, not great. I think I'd still go Fields. I mean, if you want more consistency, you want a better floor. I would tell you to go Kirk, right? But if you're chasing the points and you feel like you need a big boom, you got to start Fields.
Yeah. Yeah, and I saw our good buddy Dustin Lutke took a little heat on Twitter today because one of his avoid players was Kirk Cousins, and somebody didn't like that.
No, I did see that as well.
Yeah, yeah, but I don't blame you. I mean, I agree though. If you need the ceiling play this week, chase the points, go with Fields. You're looking for that safe options. Kirk's really never going to hurt you.
So we got another comment from Hans. Hans says, I rejected a trade offer today. Guy wanted Ridley for Achan. I was tempted, but came to my senses. And then he says, I really hope Ridley picks it up. I would say, Hans, good for you for not taking that trade. I understand Achan is probably something that owner might have had him on their team, or they put a ton of fab or maybe a top waiver priority. I know Ridley hasn't been great, but I think Achan will be good. Mind you, I put in a ton of fab in your league as well. But you can't. I don't know. To me, we've talked about this. I don't like it when someone picks somebody off the waiver wire and then tries to trade you for somebody that you drafted pretty early on. Ridley has a lot of promise. I know he hasn't been as good since week one, but I would not do that trade. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I think you made the right choice. Declining that offer. I do think Ridley's a wide receiver one there. It's been disappointing these last couple of weeks. I think he could get back to what he did with him and Lawrence, they did in week one. And Achan, we've seen the 1 week, but I mean, in reality, Jeff Wilson could be coming back here. There's still Raheem Mostert, so.
Well, it's a revenge game too against Atlanta. So this will be very interesting to see how he does, because this, if you believe in the revenge game narrative, it's there.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about that later in the show here.
And then Hans also says, I was able to pick up Jeff Wilson Jr. and stash him, though. I don't know what's going to happen in the Dolphins backfield. I think if you got the bench spots, that's not a bad idea. I mean, the Dolphins backfield last year we saw was this rotating wheel. It was Mostert, then they traded for Wilson, then it was Wilson. So that's the thing. I just don't believe that Achan is, that guy the rest of the way. I mean, remember, Mostert did really good as well last week. So, don't go for the eye candy here.
Yeah. And I think that's a smart move. I mean, injuries happen, especially at the running back position. Just because, Mostert and Achan are the guys right now doesn't mean that, one of those guys can't go down and Jeff Wilson will step in and get some work. But all right, Steve, moving on to the sleepers here at the quarterback position. This week, take 2. I'm going to try to roll out Matthew Stafford. We're going to try it again. I know it was so last week when you called it out, Steve, but Stafford didn't look his best against the Bengals last week on the road, but I do think things will get better for him this week against the Colts. The first 2 weeks we saw Trevor Lawrence and CJ Stroud being able to take advantage of that secondary and have great games. Last week, like I said, I think that weather in Baltimore last week really hampered the ability for the Ravens to really excel and have that explosive offensive week. But then, according to the PFF strength of schedule ratings, Stafford has the best matchup this week at the quarterback position.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen now. I mean, Dustin talked about week 1, okay, it's an anomaly. Week 2, okay, maybe. Week 3, it's a pattern, right? We've seen now that the Colts are a soft spot when it comes to a offensive friendly opponent. And so I agree with you. You got to fire up Stafford. I think he's a great sleeper play. He's a middle of the road guy. Most likely, you might have picked him up off waivers, or you draft him as your second quarterback late in leagues. So there are some difficult matchups on the slate. I think it could be worthwhile to start Stafford.
Yeah, I was looking at the matchups. There are some tough games, but this one is one of the juicy matchups. I think you got to take advantage.
All right, so let's first start off with Deshaun Watson. Would you start Deshaun Watson over him?
I think if you're in the situation you're chasing points, I think I'd go Stafford. Probably could argue that Stafford might even be the safe option. We've really seen one game out of Deshaun Watson where he looks good. Going against the Baltimore Ravens defense too is a tougher task as well. So I think I'd go Stafford over him.
Okay. How about Russell Wilson?
Yeah, this one's tough. I like Russell Wilson's matchup. I think if you need this one's tough. I do think all right, Russell Wilson to me is the ceiling play. If you need the points, I'd go Russell Wilson. If you need somewhat of a safer option, Stafford's not going to skunk out for you.
Okay, and lastly, how about Brock Purdy versus Arizona?
Yeah,
you love Purdy, Joe.
I do love Brock Purdy, but I think I would go with Stafford. I think he's got the higher potential. Purdy, he's really good at getting the 2 touchdowns. I just, against the Arizona Cardinals, I don't think this is maybe the Arizona will continue to surprise me and be in this game. But I think the running game and stuff can excel with McCaffrey. Brock Purdy might not need to be as heavily involved.
Yeah, for me, I would start Stafford over Watson. I would start Stafford over Brock Purdy, but I would not start Stafford for Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's actually been really good fantasy wise, and I think the Bears. I think that could be a shootout, as you'll see later on. So to me, these are both bad defenses. So I think Russell Wilson's going to do pretty well, and I think Sean Payton's going to be motivated. They're going to try to get that win. Both teams are coming in with not a win. You don't want to go 0-4.
Yeah, I agree. It could be, a shootout. It's literally the battle of the suck.
Yeah. Hans says, I just dropped Stafford for CJ Stroud as my backup to Geno. And then he goes on to say, Geno Smith scares me a bit. I'm always hesitant to start him. What are your thoughts on that, Joe?
Yeah, I don't hate it. I mean, CJ Stroud has been good to start the year, even as a rookie. He's yet to throw an interception. I think he's set a rookie record here through weeks as far as that goes. But I agree, Geno Smith, he hasn't been the same Geno we saw last year, and it definitely is scary. Just wonder if Stafford, I think, still has a really good matchup this week that I'd like better than those 2 guys.
Yeah, I think I like Stafford's matchup better than Stroud's this week. Stroud going against Pittsburgh, which honestly isn't the best secondary, but that pass rush is relentless. And I don't know if CJ Stroud has seen that yet. And so this could be the game where he actually has an interception. I could totally see that happening because that defense is just known for creating pressure. So I think long-term it's kind of one or the other. I think I'd probably rather have Stafford, but I don't blame you for wanting to have a backup behind Geno. So my stinker of the week is Lamar Jackson. Lamar's been subpar to start the season, in my opinion. He's currently sits at the QB7 in standard leagues. Look, we were really expecting him to just jump off the page with this new Todd Monken offense. But at the end of the day, Todd Monken just, it takes a little bit of an adjustment. So the Cleveland Browns have been one of the better defenses. Joe, we've been talking about this. They actually rank second against fantasy points allowed to quarterbacks. So if you've got some better options as a stream, I think I'm benching Lamar.
Yeah, I don't think that's a horrible idea. Like we said, I mean, that game could be just a defensive battle. The AFC North is all about tough physical defense, and that's what we have. So I definitely think you could look for better options there. But to that point, would you be going with Anthony Richardson and Lamar Jackson?
Anthony Richardson's going against the Rams, who've been okay. Not great, but okay. I think I would start Lamar, but it's close.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely is close. Um, yeah, Richardson coming back off I know he cleared the concussion protocol. I think I agree. I'd go Lamar. How about Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson?
I think you gotta start. You know I don't like Burrow, but if you
Yep,
drafted Burrow, you gotta start him against Tennessee. They're one of the worst secondaries in the league. So to me, you gotta start Burrow.
I agree there as well. How about Russell Wilson or Lamar Jackson?
I'm starting Russell. Look, I mean, like I said, he's been good fantasy wise, and I think it's going to be a shootout with the Bears. I think that Ravens Browns game is going to be a stingy divisional, battle. So to me, I would rather go with Russell with the ceiling there.
Yeah, yeah, hard to argue. Like you said, I think that Broncos Bears game definitely could be a shootout.
So going over to the running backs, my smash play of the week and probably the waiver wire darling for some leagues out there is Devon Achane. Achane went off against your Denver Broncos, Joe, and you may be thinking, will he do it again? Well, Bills ranked 10th against the running back, so on paper it doesn't look like the best matchup. But I'm here to tell you, as a Bills fan, start Devon Achane. These guys get gashed from time and time again. They just break out these long runs. I would not be surprised if Devon Achane takes one to the house, probably an 80-yard single caller down to the house. This guy is probably going to get a touchdown. I could see him getting over 100 yards. I think this is going to be, I believe, America's game of the week, as they like to say. I think it's going to be an absolute shootout. It's going to be a fun divisional matchup.
Yeah, it definitely should be a fun game, and I agree with you. I would be firing up Achane. We saw Brian Robinson take advantage of that last week, just didn't get enough opportunities. But the difference with Brian Robinson and Achane is Achane could be taking these to the house, not just for good gains like Robinson was.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so let's put your smash player to the test here. Would you start Devon Achane or Najee Harris?
I like Najee, Joe, but I'm going to go with Devon Achane. I think he just got a bigger ceiling. Najee, they just are not giving him the workload that he's usually accustomed to. And if he's not getting the workload he's accustomed to, I'm sort of fading him. So Houston's an okay matchup, but I think I'm going to go Achane.
Yeah, no, I would for sure. You know how I feel about Najee.
Oh, I know you do.
How about in his return this week, Steve? How about Alvin Kamara or Achane?
This is a tough one. I don't remember. Kamara was gone because of a suspension, not because he was injured. So he should be healthy and ready to go. And that, I believe Jamal Williams is going to miss the game.
Yeah, he's on IR.
But then is Derek Carr going to play or Jameis Winston? I don't know off the top of my head. I wish I would looked into it more. Was Jameis, when Jameis played, was Kamara better or worse? I know if there was a stretch there, Kamara was not very good during a certain quarterback. I think it might have been Jameis, but I can't really remember. I don't know.
I think possibly worse because Jameis likes to shoot the ball down the field. I don't think he likes to dump it off. And it's more looking like this is going to be a Jameis game than Derek Carr game to me at this point.
Then at that point, I'd go Achane. I'd monitor it, but I'd go Achane.
Yeah, I agree. Achane's got his ceiling's off the charts, and that's what I'd be chasing. How about Ramondre Stevenson?
Ramondre's been disappointing. He's at Dallas. No way am I starting him. That Dallas defense is very good, even though they lost, Diggs. But Diggs isn't going to factor in for Stevenson. You're looking at that defensive front. So no way I'm starting Stevenson. I'm definitely going to start Achane.
Yeah, I agree that the weakness potentially is in the secondary now without Diggs, but that defensive front is still good. I think that, they took the kick in the pants on the loss last week with the Cardinals. I think they're going to come back a little stronger this week.
I guess that's true. I mean, James Conner did do a master class against them, but I don't know. Stevenson just hasn't looked well.
Yeah, I agree with you. So for my sleeper running back this week, I'm going to go with Jaylen Warren. And obviously, like we mentioned before, talking about Najee, this this backfield has become close to a 50-50 split here. And Warren, of course, is the more explosive guy. The Steelers have the second highest ranking as far as the matchup goes on the PFF strength of schedule tool. And not only are the Houston Texans a good matchup for the run game, but they've also allowed the 9th highest yards per route run to running backs. And Warren leads all running backs in that category thus far this year.
Interesting, Joe. I know you've been pounding the table for Jaylen Warren, how he's so much better than Najee. I'm not so sure about that. I guess I was wrong to say that Najee doesn't have a good matchup. Maybe I should be believing in Najee more based on the PFF strength of schedule here. So let's put you to the test here. Would you start your beloved Breece Hall over Jaylen Warren?
No, I would not. I don't like the Jets matchup this week. I just, Breece Hall still getting eased in. Just Zach Wilson with that offense, they're going to stack the box. The Chiefs defense has been too strong.
Wow. Okay. Man, you're putting me to the test. I don't really like either of them. But I guess if I had to pick, I don't know. I got to think about that. How about Rachaad White?
I would be starting Warren over Rachaad White as well.
You're nuts.
No, I'm not, man. This guy, I think, is going to be he's going to be a solid flex play, I think, for a lot of this season here.
Okay. How about Joshua Kelly? Is it Eckler back? Do we know, is he back?
That's what I don't know, but if Kelly starts, Kelly's got another dream matchup, but just hasn't taken advantage. I'm going to go with Jaylen Warren over Joshua Kelly, but obviously if Austin Eckler starts, that's a different story.
All right, I made my decision. I'm going to start all three of those guys over Jaylen Warren. I do not see what you're seeing, and if I'm wrong, I'll admit it next week. But I will. I am not going to start Jaylen Warren.
Hey, he's getting the reception, Steve. I think he's my sleeper play. And he's gonna.
If anything, you need to start Najee Harris. Don't listen to Joe.
Oh, Najee, the 3 yards in a cloud of dust guy.
So my stinker of the week was Joe Mixon. Joe's going up against the Titans. They're ranked 8th against the run. Their secondary is so bad. Like I was saying, I think the Bengals are going to be incentivized to throw during that game. Mixon's averaging around 15 attempts per game and around a 4-yard per average per rush, which isn't too bad. It's okay numbers. But against this defense, I just don't like the matchup.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning that way with you. I got Mixon, in a league, and I'm considering benching him myself. So this will be good for me to see what possibly other options are there. Would you start Brian Robinson or Joe Mixon?
Oh, I'm starting Brian Robinson. Look, I mean, even though the Eagles are a good defense, they've been susceptible to the run. So I like Robinson. He's basically the back in Washington.
Yeah, that's really disappointing because I had high hopes for, Antonio Gibson this year, but Robinson, it is his backfield and just don't quite understand it. But how about the revelation in Indianapolis with Zach Moss or Joe Mixon?
I would start Zach Moss. I mean, look, Zach Moss is, he's done. I mean, I actually looked today and I was like, wow, he scored that many points. I can't believe how well he's done over these past 2 weeks. You got to start him.
Yeah, I agree there. How about Raheem Mostert or Joe Mixon?
I'd start Raheem Mostert as well. Look, the Bills, they're, like I said, they're susceptible to the run. Could be Mostert, could be Achane, could be both. Then you're going to gash the Bills.
Yeah, hard to disagree with you there.
So we got a comment from Ventro. He asked, who should I start? Christian Watson, Lockett, or Tank Dell? Start 2 out of 3. What do you think there, Joe?
Yeah, I think out of those 3 guys, I'll take the wait and see approach for Christian Watson and go with Lockett and Tank Dell.
Yeah, so Lockett is at the Giants, which is an okay matchup, right? Tank Dell is against Pittsburgh, who I think have been absolutely roasted. I think I'd start Tank Dell from the ceiling standpoint. Then the question is it Lockett or Watson? I think Lockett has a better floor. Watson has the better ceiling. So if you're chasing the points, Ventro, I'd recommend going Watson and Dell because I think they have a higher ceiling and upside. But if you want more of a floor option, I'd go at Lockett and Tank Dell because we don't really know what to expect from Watson tonight. He could goose you, and I don't want to see that happen for you.
Yeah, that's kind of why I like the mix of there. You get the ceiling play of Tank Dell, but then you get the safety of Lockett.
And if you have other questions as well, anyone who is watching, go ahead and put them in the comments below. This is what we're here for. We're happy to give you our advice for your starts and sits for week 4. So, Joe, you've got the smash play for wide receivers. What do you got?
Yeah, man. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I just got a Thielen this week, and my smash play is going to be Adam Thielen. This is, and like we talked about before, this is the Adam Thielen revenge game. Over the last 2 weeks, he has been targeted 23 times and has 18 receptions for 199 yards and 2 touchdowns. According to the PFF Strength of Schedule tool, Panthers have the 3rd best ranking for receivers this week, and the Vikings have allowed the 3rd most fantasy points to the wide receiver position. Thielen should line up in the slot versus Josh Metellus as well, and he just gave up 10 catches for 62 yards last week.
Now, it doesn't scare you. It sounds like Bryce Young is going to be the quarterback for the Panthers. That doesn't bother you at all because I know you think he's too fragile.
Yeah, nope, it doesn't bother me because both he and Dalton target him a lot. So, I mean, he heard the stats over the last couple of weeks. That was with 1 quarterback apiece there. So I'm not concerned.
Yeah, I'm actually with you. I like it a lot. I believe in the revenge game narrative personally. I think it makes a ton of sense. Like we talked about with Calvin Ridley versus Atlanta, that's going to be a fun one as well. I bet you. I think teams want their players to buy in and be engaged. I think they like that type of stuff. They specifically, set stuff in the game plan, to kind of, get them involved and be able to succeed against their former team. So I'm definitely starting Thielen as well. Now, would you start him over Garrett Wilson?
I would. I know that might sound crazy, but it's scary. The Kansas City Chiefs defense is looking like a top 5 defense, and usually they don't get rolling until later in the season. So the fact that they're playing this well thus far, this early, and I just don't trust Zach Wilson, of course, either.
Oh, I'm definitely not starting Garrett Wilson. I would definitely be starting Adam Thielen. I already can hear it now. Chris Collins was saying, Steve Spagnuolo, he just really gets this defense together and does a great job, So I could just see they're just going to absolutely have a heyday against the Chiefs. So never mind starting Garrett Wilson. What a disappointment, man. He was my guy, and I was just looking forward to him with Aaron Rodgers, but alas,
you're not alone.
Here we are.
We all were looking for that, second-year breakout at the wide receiver position, and the Rodgers Achilles just didn't let it happen.
No. All right, how about Mike Evans? He's going up, or sorry, wrong one. What about Zay Flowers, your former smash play of the week?
Yeah, my former smash play of the week. I've got to set him aside this week and put Thielen over him. Like we talked about, just playing against the Browns defense there. Just don't like it.
And how about Brandon Ayuk? He's going up against Arizona.
I think that's where I'll draw the line. I will play Ayuk over Thielen. Just Ayuk should be back here, and when he's in, Brock Purdy just loves to target him, and he has great games.
Yeah, I definitely would start Thielen over Zay Flowers. The Ayuk one, that's a really interesting one. I would really be on the fence there. I think I might go Thielen. Look, Ayuk's banged up. I don't believe he didn't play last week. So for him not to play, that must have been at least somewhat significant for him not to play. I think Debo's also a little banged up as well.
Yes.
This could be a little bit of a trap game. Everyone says Arizona's bad. San Francisco's probably one of the best teams in the league. I don't know. This could be interesting to see what happens. Gannon's having the Cardinals play well here.
Yeah, the only thing that I'm curious about with Ayuk is if the game they played on Thursday against the Giants last week. So I wonder if that game was on Sunday, if he would have been able to go.
Yeah, you're probably right.
So he's had
it's close. Time, it's really close. You really couldn't go wrong either way, honestly.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
But would you say the higher ceiling is Thielen?
Tough to say that. I mean, Ayuk is one of the ultimate ceiling guys with his big playability and touchdowns. So I'm not sure on that.
Well, ideally,
Thielen definitely has the better matchup. I know that much.
That's true. Well, ideally, you start both. So if you have
Right.
both, you should start both.
Absolutely.
So my sleeper of the week is Cortland Sutton. The Chicago Bears ranked 19th against the pass, but this secondary is not good. I expect there to be a shootout, like I said earlier, between these two offenses in the first 3 weeks, Sutton leads the Broncos with a 24.2% target share. And I would not be surprised if he gets a touchdown. I mean, Russell Wilson has been looking his way in the red zone, so I fully expect that to happen. Real quick, Joe, we've got a question from Kenny. He asks, one flex play, Roshan Johnson, Breece Hall, Romeo Doubs, Jordan Addison, Christian Kirk, and I believe that's Jerry Jeudy. Who would you guys pick?
Wow.
That's a lot to unpack.
That is.
What do you think?
Man, I think, I might roll out. I might roll with Dobbs. He's the player.
Really?
I might roll with Dobbs tonight.
I'm not starting Roshan Johnson. If anything, if there's any rushing volume, it's going to be Fields, I think. So I don't want to do that. I think it's going to be a Calvin Ridley game, especially going up against Atlanta. So I'm going to pass on Kirk. So to me, then I wouldn't start Breece Hall. I don't like Breece Hall, and going up against the Chiefs, I don't like that matchup. So it comes down to Dobbs, Addison, and Jeudy. I think I'd go Jeudy, honestly. Like I said, I think it's going to be – I could see Jeudy doing well also. I really was between Jeudy and Sutton, honestly, as my sleeper. I think, Addison, the Panthers are an okay matchup. Dobbs, I understand what you're saying, but I think at the end I'd go Jeudy.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard for me to trust Jeudy. He doesn't, Russell Wilson took forever for him to target him last week and get him involved in the game plan. And then, he dealt with the hamstring. Now I see he's questionable with the knee in practice. So we'll see. But going back to putting it to the test here, Steve, with Cortland Sutton, are you starting Cortland Sutton or Garrett Wilson?
I'm starting Cortland Sutton. When it comes down to it, Garrett Wilson. Well, I don't like the matchup like we talked about. I just don't see why you'd play him.
Yeah, agree 100%. How about Mike Evans?
So this is an interesting one. Mike Evans has been one of the best receivers in fantasy this year. To my surprise, I think to yours as well. But he has the dreaded Marshawn Lattimore matchup against the Saints, and he never does well against Marshawn Lattimore. So I'm going to go with history and not start Mike Evans. I'll start Sutton over Evans.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. Those two, they get themselves ejected all the time. They get into fights. I think I agree. I think I would go Sutton over Evans, even though that'd be extremely tough to do based on his hot start. How about Nico Collins?
Yeah, that's where I draw the line. Steelers' defense is susceptible to the pass. I think Nico, he's been getting super targeted over there in Houston. Seems like him and Stroud have a good rapport. It's close though. It's really close. Well, now that I'm starting to say, maybe I'm starting to back off a little bit. What do you think?
Oh, brother, he's starting to back off. Boy, that is tough. I think.
You know what? I'm switching. I'm going to go with Sutton. I think Sutton's. I just think it's going to be a shootout. I could see Stroud. There's a possibility that Stroud he gets absolutely just smothered by that defense, and it's a really bad day for the Houston Texans offense. I just don't think Stroud and that coaching staff has enough clips in their belt for me to say that I believe that they're going to do it. So I'm going to switch. I'm going to go back. I'm going to go with Sutton.
Yeah, I mean, the way Sutton's been heavily utilized, hopefully the 2 fumbles from last game doesn't affect him into going this game. But he's just been hyper-targeted, so I'd go Sutton over Collins as well. So then back to my stinker at wide receiver here. My smash play of the week last week, Zay Flowers, is now the stinker of the week this week. And the Ravens have the 4th worst matchup, according to that strength of schedule tools sent out by PFF, for wide receivers against this Browns defense. who have allowed the fewest amount of fantasy points to the wide receiver position thus far.
Yeah, the Browns defense has been no joke, and I agree with you. I would not start him either if I have other options. So let's compare him to some other players here, Joe. How about Tutu Atwell going up against the Colts?
Yeah, I'd go with Atwell. Surprisingly, everyone was thinking Van Jefferson, but it's really been Atwell here, being the number 2 with Cooper Kupp out. It's been him and Nakua, and against that Colts secondary, absolutely.
I'm with you. I'd go Tutu as well. How about Jacoby Myers?
Yeah, Jacoby Myers. He's the number 2 behind Devontae Adams, getting utilized. I like him.
I agree. He's getting heavily targeted. Not every 2 is treated the same. He's almost getting targeted as if he's a 1 for some of these offenses. I mean, he's getting better volume than any Jets receiver right now. So, yeah, definitely go Myers. And how about Nico Collins, Joe? We just talked about him a little bit before myself. What do you think, Collins or Flowers?
Yeah, I'll go with Nico Collins on that one. I'm firing up all these guys over Flowers this week.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely play Collins. I would not be starting Flowers.
All right, heading over to the tight end position. Another guy that's been disappointing thus far at the tight end position. But my smash play of the week, I'm going to go with Pat Freiermuth. We finally saw Pat have a good game last week. Up until then, he'd only had 5 receiving yards through 2 weeks, which was just, I was so disappointed. I've got Pat Freiermuth in a lot of leagues, but I think he keeps the momentum going from his good game last week. He's got the 3rd best matchup for tight ends this week. And I guess I was looking into this, Steve. One of the things that could have contributed to the slow start in the first couple of weeks of the season was him facing a large amount of man coverage. And Freiermuth does not do well against man coverage, but he fares a lot better versus zone coverage. And the Texans have played the most amount of zone coverage over any defense this year.
Wow, that's a gold nugget right there. I hope those who are listening take that because that is fascinating. I like Freiermuth this week, but let's see what you think compared to others. How about Kyle Pitts? Are you starting Kyle Pitts or Pat Freiermuth?
I'd be going with Pat. I just, Pitts, I thought was going to have a bigger game last week. He just had 40 yards, which was better than what he had been doing. But, we saw Freiermuth get a touchdown. He's got 2 on the year. I'll go with Freiermuth.
Yeah, I'm with you. I go Freiermuth as well. Pitts just does not get the volume needed. How about tight end Dallas Goedert going against the Commanders?
Yeah, I'm starting Pat over Goddard as well.
Wow, interesting. Okay, I would as well. The Commanders matchup, I believe, is not the best one. So let me put you to the test then, because so far you're saying start him. What about Mark Andrews?
Well, I mean, it's not the best matchup, but you just gotta play Mark Andrews. I feel like
Interesting.
But you missed the one guy, Steve. Sam Laporta. If you got him tonight, I'd roll with him. I'd be fine starting him over Pat Freiermuth this week.
What about Mark Andrews though?
Well, yeah, you got to play Mark Andrews.
I don't know. Against Cleveland, though, that's not the best matchup. You really think that if Freiermuth, he's got a juicy matchup, you wouldn't be chasing the points there?
I mean, if you are chasing the points, you definitely could, but it's tough. We talked about where you've had to draft these guys, where you spent the draft capital on Mark Andrews. I just feel like you got to roll with them.
So going over to my sleeper play of the week, look, this is a guy who I was a big fan of, is not showing up the way I felt he should be, and that's Dalton Kincaid. I think this is the game where he pops off. The Dolphins are 27th against the tight end, so it should be a good opportunity for him, and I believe this will be the game of the week. I've been talking about it for a little bit now. I think it'll be a shootout. And, this is exactly why I believe the Bills traded up to get Kincaid for these type of matchups. They want a difference maker on offense. Maybe they felt like they haven't needed to use him. I think this could be a great opportunity for him. I think both the Bills, if you have Bills players or Dolphins players, you should start them all because I think there's going to be a track meet coming up there for this upcoming game.
Yeah, very interesting. Well, there's no better team that fits the track meet entity better than the Dolphins, man. All they got is track players over there. But Let's put Kincaid to the test here. Would you be starting Hunter Henry or Dalton Kincaid?
No, I would be starting Kincaid. Look, I mean, the Dallas Cowboy defense is one of the better defenses, so I don't really like the matchup for Hunter Henry. I think it's really bad. I know he did really well for the first 2 weeks, but I almost wonder if that was somewhat of an anomaly, and now what we're seeing is what he really is. So I would go with Kincaid with the upside.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I like the ceiling better for Kincaid. In that matchup. How about Kyle Pitts or Dalton Kincaid?
I mean, at this point, Pitts and Kincaid kind of fit the same profile, right? Really athletic tight ends are able to create space, but just maybe aren't getting the volume that we hope that they would get. So let me roll with Kincaid. Look, Pitts has not been able to get the volume needed. So for me, I'd rather, I trust more in Josh Allen than I do Desmond Ritter. So I'll go Kincaid.
Yeah, that's a valid point, man. It's hard to trust in, Desmond Ritter, and that's with the few passing attempts that the Falcons even have. So I agree with you there. How about Pat Freiermuth, the guy we just talked about, or Dalton Kincaid?
I actually have both of them in one of my leagues. I want to say it's the Scott Fishbowl league I'm in, and I am really torn between the two.
Well, you could start both.
I could, and I might consider it because obviously in that league they are very highly favored. The tight end position is. I think I'd go Kincaid. I like the ceiling there. I got to put my money where my mouth is. I got to go with him.
Yeah, I'd go with my man Pat over Kincaid for the record.
No surprise there.
No surprise at all. All right, going to the stinker at the tight end position. I've got David Njoku. He's a guy that I know you've been high on, Steve, but he's only been targeted on 9.5% of his routes run, which is the lowest among tight ends with at least 50 routes run this year. And he's got the third worst tight end matchup, according to the strength of schedule tool. And the Ravens have allowed the second fewest points to the tight end position thus far as well.
Let's clarify, Joe. I did like Njoku, but I cut him in your league because I'm done with him. Look, he is super athletic. The promise is there. Why he's not more involved, I don't understand. Especially with Chubb going down. Would have thought that he would have had more volume, but he's just not getting it. It just doesn't. And you give him all that money. Why does Cleveland give him all that money and they don't use him? It's beyond me. But would you start Njoku or Higbee?
I know that he's been disappointing. Kind of came alive last week. I'd be going Higbee.
I'd be going Higbee as well. Way better matchup. And we've seen him get more volume. Although he hasn't this year, which I thought he would get it from last year. But Stafford's been targeting the likes of Nacua and Atwell. But I'd go Higbee as well. How about Cole Kmet going up against the Broncos?
Yeah, I would definitely not be starting Cole Kmet, that's for sure.
Yeah, Cole Kmet, I agree. You called that a while back ago that you were soured on him and were not a believer in him. And
so that is one scenario. I'll take Njoku over Kmet. That's one scenario.
I'm with you. How about my man Kincaid, Joe? You starting Dalton Kincaid or Njoku?
Yeah, like you mentioned, Kincaid's got the better matchup. I'll go with Kincaid over Njoku.
Good man. That's what I'd like to hear. I definitely start Kincaid. Look, I mean, Njoku hasn't shown any promise. Why would you start him? With the tight end position, as long as they fall into the end zone, right? That you've talked about this, they end up being relevant. But let me go with the upside play. I mean, that's why you draft these guys in hopes that they're going to do this. So you don't want to be putting them on the bench and you miss out and be like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Like I left that player on the bench. It's just not worth it because it's not like there's that big of a difference.
Yeah. Talk about guys falling into the end zone, Steve. Be on the lookout for Dawson Knox. I tell you this all the time. I feel like every time the Bills play at home, that guy scores a freaking touchdown.
It's true. Yeah, you've been calling that, and you probably will. While I'm watching it with you, I'll see it happen. And I'll be like, Kincaid, no.
Yeah.
If you are watching, if you had any questions relating to starts and sits for your team, now is the time. Put your comments in the section below. We're going to be going through our stacks of the week, and then that's pretty much it. So put your comments below. So, Joe, who do you have as your stack of the week, quarterback and receiver combo?
Yeah, we talked about this matchup a lot on the show thus far. I'm rolling with Stafford and Puka Nacua and taking advantage of that matchup against the Colts.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And the thing that's interesting too, they are not going to, or they are at Indianapolis. I guess that is an interesting piece of it. West Coast going east, but it's in a dome, so you don't have to worry about the elements playing in the cold stadium. I like it. I mean, Nakua is continuing to get hyper targeted. So if you have both, I think that's a sneaky stack. I think that could do really well.
Yeah, I mean, my only concern is will Atwell kind of be the guy instead of Nakua again this week? But the Bengals really did a great job of taking Puka away. I don't know if the Colts are going to be able to do that, so that's why I'm going to roll with Puka and Stafford.
Yeah, so my stack of the week is quarterback Jalen Hurts, wide receiver Devonta Smith. Hurts has been a little underwhelming. I think a part of that reason is because Shane Steichen is no longer the offensive coordinator for the Eagles. I think they start off a little bit slower. But as you remember last year, Joe, Devonta Smith absolutely torched the Commanders last year. That was really when he started coming on the scenes, and I didn't believe it, and boy, was I wrong. So neither of them have really stepped up. I think this is a game they get it right.
Yeah, definitely could. The only concern I have with Devonta Smith is we saw the overcorrection Jalen Hurts was trying to make after we saw A.J. Brown complain on the Thursday night game against the Vikings. And even though the Eagles scored a decent amount of points, there were several plays he missed open Dallas Goedert, several plays he opened and missed to Devonta Smith because he kept looking at A.J. Brown first, and the squeaky wheel gets the grease. I get that, but, Hurts, stop hurting the offense and spread it around again.
If you weren't going to say it, I was going to say it because you always say the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Absolutely.
Joe, so we're T minus about, I think, 10 or 15, 13 minutes away. Any other thoughts for those who may be watching as far as the Thursday night game? What should they be thinking about? Who should they be starting? Who should they be sitting? We've talked about a few of them already. For those who may have missed the preview in the beginning of the show.
Yeah, I think well, for me, I've got Christian Watson and Aaron Jones in the league. I'm going to play both of them. I know you kind of like to take the wait and see approach, but I don't know. I'm excited for these guys. I'm looking to see it. I think it's going to be a good game tonight.
Yeah, I guess it's always tough when it comes to injury, right? How healthy are they? And, will they, Thursday night is an interesting one because you don't want to start off down. If you have both of them, so if they both don't show up, I mean, that could cause you to lose your matchup. So I don't know. To me, I would be a little more leery about that.
Yeah. For whatever reason, too, on Thursday nights, it seems like your guys do really well or they don't do well on Thursday night, too. But I'm going to hope that these guys perform well.
Well, and Thursday night typically is not a it's not a good night for fantasy. Usually these teams seem to be going through quicksand.
Yeah, but we'll see. I think this is a good matchup. We do have a comment and question there.
Yeah. We've got another question here from Hans, and if anyone else has questions, fire them away here. Hans says, "Do you guys think Laporta is the real deal at tight end?" Joe, I think you do.
Yeah, I certainly do, man. And you know how I usually feel about the rookie tight ends, but what he's shown and got that explosive play, last week for the touchdown. I've liked what I've seen, and they seem to be utilizing him.
Yeah, Hans says he needs a good game from him and Gibbs tonight. I could see it happening. Both rookies. I like Laporta. Look, he's from tight end university. Iowa seems to be producing tight ends all the time. George Kittle, Sam Laporta, T.J. Hawkinson. Noah Fant. Sorry, Joe. He didn't really show up. But for your Broncos and for Hans Broncos too. At the end of the day, I do think Laporta is the real deal. From a dynasty perspective, if you have him, you got to be really excited about, what he'll end up being for you and your team. I've been impressed. You talk about it all the time when it comes to rookie tight ends. Rookie tight ends just don't show up. And I was telling you, no. Kincaid is going to show up. You were telling me otherwise. But Laporta, he's actually, what does he rank right now? I want to say he's like top 5 right now, right? In standard leagues?
Would it surprise me? I don't really know where he ranks, but It wouldn't
I'm gonna
surprise
check.
me if he's up there. He's been good, but you were high on Kincaid. I actually liked Laporta coming out, and that's where we kind of differed on the rookie tight ends. But I still had
Well, I
my
liked
doubts
him
for him.
too. I just didn't think he was going to be like Kincaid level.
Yeah. Well, you were ultra high on Kincaid and giving me the whole argument on why he was going to be. You're giving me the same arguments that everyone's been making for Kyle Pitts, and we've still yet to see that Pitts ceiling.
So actually, Sam Laporta is number 2 right now for tight ends.
Yeah, he's been good.
So I mean, if you picked him up, and Hans has mentioned that he dropped Fryermuth to pick up Laporta. I think that's a good move.
Yeah, I mean, proof is in the pudding in the rankings, right? I mean, Laporta's the number 2 tight end. Fryermuth really he caught the touchdown in week 1, but up until last week, he had 5 receiving yards on the season, so hard to disagree there.
One other question for you that I got not in the comments, but someone asked me my opinion, so I'll get yours here. Would you start Jared Goff or Justin Fields?
Well, I'm starting Justin Fields over Jared this week. I'm going to try to go with the ceiling. I mean, like we said, if it's not this week for Justin Fields, when is it, or is it ever going to be this year?
Well, I hope you enjoy Thursday night football. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully, you found that our starts and sits are going to be helpful for you for this week for you to get a win. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next week on Thursday for our live start sit. We're here around 7 o'clock, and we'll go as long as you have questions for us. So make sure you check us out. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time. And thanks, Mike. We appreciate it.